777.
Savile and Stuart Hall were serial sexual predators. Savile was a danger to young people, both girls and boys, opportunistic and shameless. I have identified 72 BBC victims of Savile, of whom 34 were under the age of 16. His youngest victim was aged 8. His abuse included 8 cases of rape, the youngest victim being only 10 years old. Stuart Hall targeted and groomed young girls, often plying them with alcohol. Dame Linda identified 21 victims of abuse, of whom 8 were girls under the age of 16. The youngest was 10. Both of these men used their fame and positions as BBC celebrities to abuse the vulnerable. They must be condemned for their monstrous behaviour.
That life you were living, 70s and 80s again, I guess, you were, Status Quo were a huge band, and you were the most popular band on Top of the Pops,
in the room,
Britain's biggest rock and roll weekly show.
I love that show.
You appeared on it more than any other band.
I know.
And you knew what went on, I guess.
We're talking about Savile.
I'm talking about one of the hosts, one of the leading rock and roll hosts of that show and radio shows, Jimmy Savile, who we now know was a serial criminal abuser of young people, of women.
Anything at all, yeah.
Did you know?
I was 17 or 18, so it didn't seem that ridiculous. It seemed lots of people
When you first came across Savile, you were 17, 18?
18, yeah, and that thing went on that I told you about, and because we just...
Well, I think you can tell me about it on air. Why not? I mean...
I can't. I don't think I can. I think that's gross. Anyway, something went on, as I said during the show. He said, come and see these, they're only 12 years old. And never mind, you kind of ignore it. You're new to things. You've just got into the system. You don't want to...
You're a teenager yourself.
Yes, and to be honest, then to be, if they're talking 15-year-olds or 12, it didn't seem as gross as it does now, obviously.
Well, that's
but
an
you
interesting
didn't
thing to say.
realise what they were doing. You didn't realise the gravity of it, if you wish. But everybody of my generation, of all those acts there, you asked them, they all had an inkling, and we were all like, but we were told to watch out for the Leeds Mafia. And even when Louis Theroux had him cornered on camera, Jimmy Savile was that confident, he looked straight at him and the camera. What chance? He knew somehow, and he still must have something in the system that's covering him, or covering what's gone on. We all know it, we just can't find it.
Long history has crossed, you know, been through so many eras of pop. I have to mention, Colleen, that the unfortunate revelations about Jimmy Savile at the moment, which I think have disappointed and shocked us all. You yourself had experience of working with him. I mean, what were your feelings at the time?
Well, you know, at the time I was 14 and it was just an uncomfortable situation.
What, you found yourself in a situation with him?
Yes, I mean, he was, the girls were doing Top of the Pops, and I stood with him while he made the announcement. And it was an uncomfortable situation the way he held me. And then he mentioned about going to a hotel. But that, you know, you didn't talk about those things then. You didn't think anything more about it. I just thought, oh, I don't like that. You know, 14-year-old. And to me, he was 112 then, you know, at 14. And I thought, no, thanks. But now, obviously, compared to what else has come out in these other women, I mean, it's so much more about them. What happened to me was just... Yeah, and like you say, what could have been? Who knows what could have been if I'd have been on my own? But luckily, I was at the backup of the Witches of Eastwick.
Do you think it is?
He didn't stand a chance.
Not a chance. No.
The trouble is, it's on air. You know you're on air. You're with a very high-profile, popular presenter. He's literally got his hand where it shouldn't be, and is assaulting you What could you do in that situation?
I actually couldn't do anything because there was all people around and we were on steps and he was there and I couldn't move because there was too many people around and the camera was right up in front of us. So no, I couldn't get away.
And he literally put his hand between my legs and I couldn't do anything.
He came out and he just bent down and rammed his tongue down my throat.
You know, I felt something on top of me, and he was on top of me. I could violated my body in my sleep.
And the next thing I know, he'd sort of turned, was on top of me, his hand in my knickers and his tongue down my throat.
As I turned around, he just grabbed me, pulled me back on his lap, threw me to one side and put his face on mine and put his tongue into my mouth.
People say to me, why do I believe in God? One could talk a long time about why you believe in God, but to encapsulate it, I believe in God because, if nothing else, it's a good gamble. If we went through life thinking that when we die, we rot and that's it, gone, finito, that's all right, but it's much nicer to go through life with a faith thinking that maybe when we die, we go on to even a better life than this. Who knows? And therefore, it follows logically that if you try to live by a decent code, reasonably decent code, as well as you can manage, then it's a hope that when the time comes, that you go off into, for the want of a better word, a life hereafter and a heaven.